Yes.
All right. This is episode 84 of the Battle of Ohio podcast. The Browns were on a much-needed bye week, and it sounds like they're kind of in the process of getting some, regaining some of their health, kind of getting that aspect of their team together. Hopefully, they'll be ready to face off against the Ravens team that looks ripe for the beating right now.
Yeah, they do.
The Bengals lost to the Chargers with a 41-22 scoreline that really doesn't actually tell the whole story of how crazy this game really was. Like, you know, I'm not going to lie, it was bad, but 41-22 doesn't really tell you everything that happened. So we're going to get into that during the episode too. But finally, the Steelers are probably going to miss the playoffs. Because why, Thomas?
Because Pittsburgh, Ben retirement, Roethlisberger, Chase Claypool, those terrible ass towels, TJ Watt not better than Myles Garrett, all suck. You suck, Pittsburgh.
That's right.
Welcome to the Battle of Ohio podcast, where we follow the revival of the historic rivalry between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns.
So, you drinking anything tonight, Thomas?
Yeah, I'm drinking a Frappuccino because apparently no matter what, I cannot get enough coffee. You and only you will appreciate that joke, Kyle.
Why? I mean, I like
Because
coffee,
because apparently I can't get enough coffee because apparently I can never drink enough coffee because caffeine keeps you active.
But I guess I'm just confused as to why I'm the only one who's going to get that joke.
I'm
probably going to be drinking coffee after this podcast because I got a video to produce out, but I ain't doing that during the show. What I am doing is, let's call it like in the spirit of Ben Roethlisberger announcing that he's probably going to retire at the end of the season, I am going to drink my last Yingling Lager.
Salute to you, Ben Roethlisberger.
Pennsylvania is just filling me with happiness lately, and it's very weird feeling.
He had a good career. He just, he just had to do it against us.
He had a stupid career. I ain't gonna say anything nice about him. Fuck you, Ben Roethlisberger.
I ain't gonna say that about Lamar Jackson. Spoiler alert for what's ahead in this podcast. I got literally nothing nice to say about Lamar Jackson right now.
Hey, he's a nice person.
He's a nice person. I give him that. He got a good personality, but you know what though? Nobody hold back on my quarterback. I ain't holding back on you, Lamar.
There you go. All right, so let's start off with the Bengals this week because the last couple weeks we've been starting off with the Browns, and I just kind of want to dive in. Well, yeah, but we still got to talk about them. I think we're going to start off with talking about the Bengals, though. They lost 41-22 to the Chargers, and I said at the top of the episode that the 41-22 scoreline does not, I think, properly reflect how they played in this game or how this game in general went. And I stand by that because you really couldn't tell what happened in this game by the scoreline alone because the Bengals did not get blown out, except they kind of did, but then they didn't. But then they fell apart. Okay, so the Chargers did go up 24-0 in the second quarter. It was awful. It was awful. I was sitting there at the game. I was with everybody in my section. I'm like, can I get my money back? I just kept shouting that over and over. I'm up in like section 300. Nobody on the field can hear me, and I'm still like, I want my money back. What's going on? But then something sparked within the Bengals, man. Suddenly they just started playing so much better. The defense just started playing. The defense was stifling, and really the defense played fine all game. Not great, but they were fine. The biggest problem early on was the special teams was absolutely awful and kept setting the Bengals up in awful positions all game. And the defense was okay. And so it's like eventually, like I said, something sparked. And, you know, the defense kept holding the Chargers and the offense kept actually putting points on the board. And before you know it, it's the third quarter, and suddenly it's 24-22, and the Bengals are driving, and they're basically, you know, they're pretty obviously about to get in field goal range. And then you got Evan McPherson. You're pretty sure they're about to make it 25-22, or sorry, 25-24 in favor of the Bengals after going down 24-0.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, like I'm not gonna sit here and just roast the Bengals for it. I was getting ready to, like early in that game, I was getting ready to come on here and just roast the hell out of the Bengals. But the way that they fought back, I don't think they deserve to be roasted. I feel more like if we see the Chargers again in the playoffs, I think we could beat them.
I think I could.
But what happened though was Joe Mixon got the ball in field goal range, Thomas. He did. And then he fumbled the ball.
Literally.
That's what I'm saying is what happened is he fumbled the ball.
No, yeah, he literally did that. Like he literally and figuratively fumbled the ball.
And then the Chargers returned it for a touchdown. Suddenly, instead of 25-24 Bengals, it's 30-22 Chargers, and then it was just kind of a avalanche at that point. It was all Chargers after that point. So like that 41-22 scoreline, the reason that is what it is because after the Bengals had that fumble, it all just kind of fell apart after that. And that's why it ended up looking like a blowout, even though really, if you look at the way that this game went for most of the game, it really wasn't a blowout. It started out as a blowout, and then the Bengals came back. And so it was a respectable game until the end, and then like I said, it fell apart. But
I texted you. I texted you while I was.
You did. You did.
I texted you. I called you. I was like, "Yo, you already fumbled that game." He was like, "No, we literally fumbled that game."
no. But you also texted me. I think maybe at halftime or something like that. You texted me the same thing you texted me when the Jaguars were up on the Bengals like 21 to something or other. I think it was 21-7. And you said y'all about to come back, and then the Bengals came back. Well, Thomas, you texted me that again, y'all about to come back, and then they did. They didn't finish it off this time, but you were right this time again. You weren't as right this time as you were last time. But it's like you've done that twice. You texted me twice that y'all about to come back, and both times you were right. So
you can see, I just seen the momentum going in the Bengals favor at the end of the first half, and I thought they were going to ball back in the second half. So I was like, oh yeah, they're gonna come back. And I don't really think the Chargers defense was really keeping up with y'all for real. At the end of the first half, you can really see it, especially at the end of the first quarter. Really, at the end of the first quarter, you can start to see it. Burrow had that weird pick that he threw at the end of the first quarter. I can't remember who he was throwing to. But it already seemed like y'all were really even with Joe Burrow's finger when he hurt his finger. I texted you before he hurt his finger, and then even when him hurting his finger, it didn't really seem like Joe Burrow was really missing a beat. And then he kind of did in the second half. You kind of tell it's affecting him in the second half, but he wasn't turning the ball over like Lamar Jackson was in the second half. But either way, he still looked like he was a little less effective in the second half than he was in the first half. But I mean, he had dislocated finger. So I wasn't to give you all that pass.
But at the end of the day, he still threw for 300 yards.
3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns.
Yeah, he did. Very impressive.
Joe Burrow? No, he didn't.
He had 3 touchdowns?
No, he had 2 touchdowns, one of which was on the ground. Justin Herbert had 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns, yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Now I will say though, Joe Burrow, I feel like aside from the interceptions, woof. Although one of those interceptions was not his fault. One of those interceptions was just JaMarr Chase being an idiot. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know
that
what
was
he
the pick I
was
was
doing
talking
there.
about.
Like I mean, it's one thing to drop a pass. It's another to like fling it behind you where you know a defender is. Like, I mean, I said on my Bengals Chargers recap that y'all can go check out if you go check out my personal YouTube channel. But I said on the recap, I said, what did I say? Fuck.
No, they just sound
I said, I said on the recap that I don't understand why the Bengals are having all these issues with there's a lot of situations this year where like Joe Burrow's thrown 14 interceptions this year, right? And you know how many of them have really been his fault? Maybe about half. So why the hell are there so many interceptions this year that are just weird, crazy, fluky plays that is not really the quarterback's fault? Like, what is the team doing around Joe Burrow that's creating these situations where interceptions happen and they're not really Joe Burrow's fault? Like, that's what I want to know. That's what I want to find out, because something's got to be going on there. And that needs to be fixed. Like, this sloppy, weird, crappy play is indicative, Thomas, of a young team. To be fair, the Bengals are a very young team, so you should probably expect some of this sloppy play, and hopefully they'll get better over time. And I mean, my perspective is just like, considering the expectations we had going into this season, if we make the playoffs, I'm not really too worried about how we get there.
Well, you got I mean,
it'd be
what?
like back in 2011 when we made the playoffs and everybody thought that we were going to have the worst record in the NFL. It'd be similar this year.
You also got to realize that Joe Burrow he didn't finish the season last year. He already played more games this year than he did last year, right? Am I wrong for saying that? Did he already play more games?
What week are we in?
Was
that week 13 that we just got through? So
yeah.
He made it through, I guess, 10 and a half games last year.
Yeah, so he's playing more of the season now. He's deeper in the season. This is the second year, but like he didn't complete last year. So even though he started last year, he's still very young, very green in the league right now. Like you said, like he's young, he's still learning. So a lot of those picks are gonna be cleaned up as you get older, as you become more of a veteran in the game. I'm not saying that we should ignore them and just not be alarmed by it. But I agree.
I agree. To an extent, I agree. He's going to clean up the interceptions that like the one he threw near CJ Uzama, where there's a defender right in front of him. It's like, bro, what were you seeing? There's a defender right here. Like, I do that on Madden. I do that on Madden all the time, and I constantly want to throw my controller at the computer and stuff like that. But I also don't get paid millions of dollars to play Madden. So I'm just like if you're a professional NFL quarterback and you're doing the same thing that I do on Madden, then you need to figure out what you're doing, because that's not okay. But the interceptions that aren't going to get cleaned up as he gets older, though, are the ones that aren't his fault, because he can't do anything about those. Yeah, and that's what I'm confused about. Why do these keep happening?
And also, like I was just going to say, like you said, you're playing with a young team. Sometimes we forget that JaMarr Chase is a rookie. I know he's a good weapon, but he's still a rookie. You don't need to be throwing the ball behind you. Like he basically lateraled it to the defender. That's what happened. That was the bonehead. That was a bonehead play. That's what you call a bonehead play.
What it was, it seems like he has this problem all year, and he's had this since the preseason. He's got like the excitement jitters. He's got this idea that, like, before he actually makes the catch, he wants to know what he's going to do. He knows how he's going to take it to the house. He's got everything planned out in his head, and then he forgets to actually make sure he catches the ball. Like, he's not taking care of the details, which is the problem, and that is indicative of a young player. JaMarr Chase is that's exactly who JaMarr Chase is. He's a young player, and I mean, you're right. But at the same time, I
get it. It's a growing process. It's a growing process. Y'all almost there, but y'all not quite there yet. It's
AJ Green didn't drop this many passes.
Growing pains. I think I don't know. I think rookie JaMarr Chase might be a little bit better than rookie AJ Green. You know better than I
JaMarr
would.
Chase is more explosive than AJ Green ever was, which is impressive, by the way, because AJ Green was.
Oh no, AJ Green was a
like, AJ Green was.
AJ Green was a baller when he first came in the league. Like
Yeah, but
man,
JaMarr Chase is more explosive than AJ Green.
I think
but
JaMarr Chase is
he's also
generational.
less. He's also less refined, which is kind of maddening.
Yeah, but I think when he gets everything, like he's just raw. He's just a lot of raw talent. But
I think perhaps missing that year, like taking 2020 off because of COVID, I think might have actually set him back a little bit more than a lot of people give credit for. Because I think he came into this year and he was rusty because he hadn't played football in a whole year.
Yeah. And I think it might be, he hasn't been efficient the last couple of weeks as he's been the first few weeks. So it could also be he might be a little bit more tired this year than he would be last couple of years because he's playing deeper in the season than he's used to. Not only has he never played this long in college season, he hasn't played this long at all in any nature in the last 2 years because he's
right.
So yeah. I think he'd be good. The defense doesn't look terrible. Aside from the turnovers in the second half, which put the defense in a weird position. That fumble by Joe Mixon, that was killer. Talk about the interception. It's turnovers. I'm with you. Like, this is a team that y'all clean up a couple mistakes here and there. Y'all could beat the Chargers. The Chargers let y'all back in that game. Obviously, your offense was moving. It's just that y'all just couldn't get that momentum to just fully come back and merge yourself as the better team than Chargers. Yeah, but I'm with you though. I agree with y'all. Y'all were to see the team in the playoff again. Y'all beat them.
I think so. The nice thing though about the playoff race is, I don't love needing this to be a thing, and I'm very angry at the Bengals, by the way, for making this need to be a thing. But we talked about on, I think, the state of the AFC North, and we definitely talked about it on predictions, how you were like, oh, I want the Steelers to win so that the Ravens can be pushed down a peg. And I had some friends who were saying the same thing, like, I don't want to, but I got to root for the Steelers this week. And I was like, no, fuck the Steelers, dude. Like, I don't care. But the problem is when the Bengals lost to the Chargers, then I was like, crap, now I need the Steelers to win. And then they did. And I was like, okay, fine, thanks. You can go back to your hole now, but thanks for the help, I guess. But now, despite the loss, the Bengals still are only one game behind the AFC North, and they still have a game left to play against the Ravens.
Yeah.
So, everything is still pretty much the only thing that really happened by losing to the Chargers. But weirdly enough, the only thing that it really changed was that the Bengals are now in control of the number 7 seed in the AFC playoffs instead of the number 5 seed. And that's the only real difference. There was a lot of talk from a lot of people about how the Bengals playoff odds, if they lose to the Chargers, plummet drastically. But I think a lot of that was because I think the odds were that the Ravens were going to beat the Steelers. So after the Ravens lost to the Steelers, then I would imagine the Bengals playoff odds kind of stayed, maybe not the same, but didn't fall too far because they're still really within reach of that division. And don't forget, we whooped the Ravens' ass last time we played them.
I don't think y'all have trouble catching the Ravens.
I don't think we should.
But I don't think the Ravens should scare anybody in the NFL right now.
But I really don't think they should either.
But that's a conversation we're going to have later in this podcast.
Well, it's a conversation we're going to have a couple times later in this podcast because, and in particular, we're going to have this podcast a lot, or we're going to have this conversation a lot on the next episode of the podcast. But we will mention it on the upcoming part where we have to talk about the Cleveland Browns in their bye week.
Oh yeah.
So tell me, Thomas, I'm hearing that there's some talk about the Browns getting excited about using Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt together again. But how's the injury situation looking there in Cleveland right now after the bye week?
Jacob Phillips, one of the linebackers, is coming back. He torn his bicep.
That's underrated. That's underrated.
That is underrated. It adds depth to our defense. Our defense has been clicking. So You get a healthy defense, and suddenly your defense is a strong point of your team, and you're just like, wait, if you get your offense together, you might be able to go on a little win streak here because your defense has been clicking. We talked about how our defense needed time to gel in the last couple of weeks going going into the bye. That our defense has been improving, but like you said, the Bengals are only game out. The Browns are only 2 games out, and they played a division leader this week. So the Browns are very much alive. The Browns are very much alive here, going 6-6, come out of the bye. And I think the best thing about the bye was I heard nothing from Berea for the last week. It was very relaxing. It was very relaxing. Nothing. And it was a chance for like the whole fan base to kind of calm down. Because I always say Twitter can be toxic. Twitter is very toxic. Somebody actually suggested me to take a break from Twitter and start using Reddit. And I was like, that's even more toxic.
You don't do that, bro. Okay, so I made a video right about I did a preview for the I did a preview for the Bengals Chargers, and admittedly there was it wasn't the best video I ever put out. There were some cringy aspects to it and stuff like that. But there was this one dude on Reddit who just neckbearded the shit out of me over this fucking video. He's just like, this is fucking terrible. And I'm just like, bro, what the hell? Did I like stumble into like did I stumble into like a fucking D&D match between like comic book nerds arguing about like who's better, Batman or Superman? Like I'm really trying to understand what I did to you to get you to like be this mean to me. I'm like this is a Bengals subreddit, right? You're a Bengals fan. I'm sorry you didn't like the video, but like I mean, we both like the Bengals.
Yeah. Reddit is ruthless.
Oh my god.
Reddit, they should change Reddit to ruthless or easy. But Reddit is ruthless.
Shut
man.
the hell up, maybe.
Anyway, going back. No, the Browns were quiet in the camp. To go back what you referencing to Kevin Stancy said that they want to explore possibly having Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the field at the same time as a possibility. That was big. A lot of fans have been clamoring that for a while. I think that'd be great. I didn't mind them not having them both at the same time. A lot of people are like, why don't you get Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the field at the same time? It's like, because you don't need them both on the field at the same time. I mean, you can have them on the field at the same time. You can, but you don't need to. I never really minded the model they had because the game against the Chargers was the last game that like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt had. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt game where they both exploded for a big game. And I like that because while one is playing, the other one is on the sideline getting a breather. And I think that's big. I think that's something that's a luxury that you give to your running back. You got 2 first-string running backs that you could rotate in and out. And when one's tired, you give one a break and let the other one go in and do his thing. And it was a steady rotation. And not only does it keep them fresh in the game, but it prolongs their health long term because they're not having as many hits on their body. So I never really minded the whole not playing them both at the same time thing. But I mean, hey man, the fans thought it was the end of the war if they didn't play together. So look, let them play together. The fans always right, huh? The fans are always right. Man. Also give Baker Mayfield a chance to heal up that leg, get that heel nice and healed up. He should be feeling better. I think this bye week is gonna be big for the Browns. Especially on the stretch run.
I think the biggest thing about the Browns, like you were saying, I think the biggest thing about the Browns going into this bye week was just the insane, just the lack of personnel that they've really had available. I mean, you want to know why that this Browns team had like a nice start and then and now they've ended up at 6-6. Well, that's why. It's because it's kind of part of the reason why the Bengals are. Well, now 7-5, but they got out to like these hot starts is because, and this is actually something we probably should have talked about during the Bengals segment, but the Bengals have had remarkable injury luck this year, and now Now it's like Joe Burrow's pinky's hurt, and then Chidobe Awuzie, we don't know what's happening with him, and Logan Wilson went out because he was playing special teams for some reason. But But still, point is, part of the reason the Bengals have been able to make this massive quick turnaround is because they've had a lot of injury luck this year. The Browns have had quite the opposite. The Browns have just been like, it's been devastating, how many people they've had missing games due to injuries or playing in games despite being heavily injured. I'm looking at you, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I mean, like even the injuries. I mean, like even like I said, well, none of the injuries are like season ending until Jack Conklin just freaking tore up his leg. So there's that. But I mean, before that, there were none of the injuries were season ending. They were just nagging injuries that really, really hurt that you're hoping people come back from. And now you're starting to get some of these players back. And now you're starting to get healthy going through the stretch run. So they should be good. They should be ready to roll. Baker had 2 weeks to heal that foot and that leg. He proven that he could throw. He could throw with his left arm. Maybe he gets more healthy, gets some of mama's home cooking. You got no excuses now, Baker. You can do this. You got 5 games to prove to the world that you're who you are. Start this week. I'm really I'm actually positive going into this week because at the end of the day, because all right, so Kyle, so like I kind of realized that I have these theories about the Browns, and I just let stupidity cloud my theories about the Browns.
What were those theories?
Well, first theory was the Browns really aren't that bad. They're just, they're just going through it. And like I don't think that
they're talented.
Yeah, I don't think that Kevin Stefanski's a bad coach. I don't think that Baker Mayfield's a bad quarterback. I don't think that Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are bad running backs. I don't think our offensive line is bad. Only thing I think is that I think we need more receivers. But I don't think that this whole argument that Baker Mayfield is the worst quarterback ever and all this stuff, and then this whole argument that Kevin Stefanski can't coach anymore. And then I was just like, well, I mean, he's a second-year coach. And then you got Baker Mayfield. Then you got late bye. Then you got all these injuries, like you said. People are like, yeah, that's excuses. But you're overcoming all of that. I'm like, well, are you? Like, yeah, you're 6-6. I know you beat bad teams, but you're still winning. You still won games. You still won enough games to still get to your bye, relax, and still have a chance to make the playoffs. And I think that a lot of people, I heard somebody on the radio was talking about, and I realized how overreacting people were when they were on the radio. They was talking about which like anybody can know what radio station I'm talking about. But on the radio, they was talking about what was more disappointing, the 0-16 Browns or this year's Browns team. And I'm like, this is the stupidest conference. Of course, the 0-16 Browns team is more. And then that's where I was at with this team. And then I realized that I literally don't want to talk to anybody about the Browns anymore because people are so far off a cliff right now with the Browns because they're 6-6. And the reality is, and this is a harsh reality for a lot of Browns fans. This is what I've been saying. And this is something that you kind of agree with me on or not. You're trying to turn around 20 years of losing. And what I mean by that is, and like I sincerely believe this, is that a culture in a locker room could define a football team, an NFL team. And when you're trying to create a winning culture, I think that takes time and effort. You have a coach who never done it before in his late 30s, a young head coach. You have a quarterback, still a young quarterback. I know he's not young anymore, it's year 4, but still he's playing for a team that's never done it before. You haven't won playoff game. You won your first playoff game in 20 years, and you're trying to win. You're trying to have back-to-back winning seasons for the first time since the 80s. This is unprecedented territory. You're trying to break marks that's never been broken before. You're trying to build on something that's never been built on before, on a foundation that is pretty much not there. It takes time. And maybe, just maybe, us saying, hey, the Browns are going to win the Super Bowl this year. And us thinking that it was going to be a cakewalk and we were going to walk in like the Patriots, because everybody thought the Browns were going to be like Patriots this year. Everybody thought that. Maybe we should start thinking about, well, maybe the Browns aren't the Patriots yet. I'm saying we can't get there. Not saying we cannot get there, because I know people want to say like, oh, 6-6 isn't 13 and whatever. Look what the Cardinals are doing. Like, yeah, granted, yes. But the Cardinals didn't have a 20-year stretch like we did. Now, the Cardinals had a bad stretch, yes, but they didn't have a 20-year stretch like we did. Like we had to really like just kind of think logically here. They're 6-6. They're 6-6, guys. They're 6-6. There have been Browns coaches that won 6 games over the process of 3 years that are not named Hugh Jackson. So I really think that Browns fans should just relax for a second. Should just really freaking relax for a second, because the team really isn't that bad. They have a chance to they really can win 4 out of 5. There's actually a really good chance they can win 4 out of 5 in the playoffs here, because the teams that they're playing are very beatable. No matter what y'all think, no matter this myth about Lamar Jackson being unbeatable, that's a myth. I just took this bye week, to just take an exhale and go like, this team really isn't that bad, and they won't be bad. They won't be horrible for the next 10 years like we were for the last 20. And as long as Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski don't overreact like this fan base is doing, like the city is doing, and like the national media is doing, they'll realize that we got a lot of talent here. We got a lot of stuff to build on, and let's not overreact to what we have.
Okay, so I have 2 thoughts, and then we need to go ahead and move on to the next segment. But my first thought is anybody who is saying that Kevin Stefanski is not a good coach because they had some bad games in a row is really dumb. So like, okay, I get,
welcome to my world.
I get the criticism. I don't agree necessarily all the time, but I get the criticisms against Baker. It's like, you've had enough of a sample size. You've seen him, struggle at times. You've seen some stuff. I sort of get, again, I don't agree with, but I sort of get the criticism with Baker.
I get it too,
Kevin Stefanski, it's like, bro, we talking about the same guy who just turned the Browns around as a franchise, the same guy who's like on pace.
Yeah.
Well, actually, technically, I guess he's not on pace right now, but he's just about on pace to give the Browns their first back-to-back winning seasons since when?
The 80s. I think it's 80s. Like 8. Yeah, I want to say it was like 89, something crazy like that.
Right, exactly. Anybody who's saying Kevin Stefanski is not a good head coach is you got to be one of 2 things. One, you got to there's a ton of like Bengals fans out there, and I'm sure there are for like Steelers fans and Ravens fans and stuff like that. But I know for a fact, because I talked to them. Right? There's a bunch of Bengals fans out there who just love pointing out every single thing that's terrible about the Browns, and it's like, look how bad they are, and it's mostly because they're being Bengals fans and they're like, yeah, go us, and boo the other team kind of thing. But point being is like it's either people like that are saying that, or maybe you've got like Browns fans who are so mired in the suck because that's all they've known for so long that they're just looking for any little tiny anomaly they can to be like, oh well, we gotta tear the whole thing down now because that's what we've had to do for 20 years.
Yeah, and that's honestly what I think it is. And like I hate saying that because I love my fans, I love my people, but that's pretty much, you hit the nail on the coffin with like I literally think that's what it is.
And I say that partially because my own fan base does that too. Like Bengals fans, you mentioned this earlier. The Browns have like the worst like losing streak of all time or something like that, or the worst like bad stretch of all time. And I think I actually mentioned this on like, it was like either the 2nd or 3rd episode of the podcast we ever did. I don't have the numbers in front of me anymore, but what it was I actually did the calculation, and the Bengals like stretch of futility that they had in like the 90s and early 2000s was the worst in all of pro sports for like a 10-year period, and the Browns actually outdid them in their more recent 10-year stretch of being terrible. So all of that is to basically get around to saying that, I understand why Browns fans would be, maybe a little paranoid, I guess, about the thing has shown that it's not going to work now because, I mean, for some Browns fans, that's literally all they know. I mean, for some Browns fans, they were around, before, like they remember, maybe Bill Belichick, maybe they, remember Bernie Kosar, maybe they remember, some older stuff than that. But there are some Browns fans who are literally younger than the team ever being good.
Yeah. It's funny. The younger Browns fans are the more optimistic ones. It's the older Browns fans would be like, "You young Browns fans, I've seen this a million times. I see the drive and the fumble." My response is, I've seen LeBron James beat the best team in the NBA to win a championship. So why can't we do it in football?
Well, okay, so here's the thing, Thomas. Are you counting yourself as part of the young Browns fans?
Yeah, I was.
Okay,
I
so
was.
you're
I will.
25,
26,
right?
27.
26.
Yeah.
Okay, you're 27. So,
yeah, so I'm not young anymore.
I was talking about 19-year-old Browns fans.
Oh no, I still never seen winning.
People who have literally never seen this team, people who have literally for the entire 20-year period have been around. Like you might not remember the 90s Browns. I don't know if you remember them or not.
I don't.
You were alive for that, is my point.
I was alive for I was born 1 year before they moved.
Right. You were there for Bill Belichick.
I was born a month after they won their last playoff game.
Man, now you're starting to sound like me because I was literally born the same year that the Bengals fired Sam Wyche and drafted David Klingler.
No, yeah, that's yeah. Okay, I got you. I mean,
I'm just saying I understand.
I haven't. I mean, I guess the 1 year that I would have been alive for the Browns in the 90s with Bill Belichick would have been the year that they moved. So, no, I haven't ever witnessed. I mean, the only thing I have is 2001.
What happened in 2001?
The 2001 Browns with Kelly Hawkins throwing for 400 yards in a playoff game and still losing to the Steelers.
Oh. That's unfortunate.
It was. It was.
Well, you know what? That was indicative of those old Browns because, I remember the Bengals and Browns back in those days. Maybe not 2001, but 2003, 2004, 2005. The Bengals and Browns had some classic games back then, where one team be scoring in the 40s and the other team scoring in the fucking 50s, and I think actually still. I could be wrong. It might have been broken. The record might have been broken very recently, and I didn't catch it. But to the best of my knowledge, the highest scoring game of all time in NFL history is a game between the Bengals and Browns from back in 2004.
Oh yeah, wasn't it Braylon Edwards versus Palmer, right? Not Braylon Edwards. Derek Anderson versus Palmer.
Was it Derek Anderson? I thought it was Kelly Holcomb.
It might have been. It might have been.
I can't.
It might have been.
But
I do know that 2007 game.
I think it was Carson Palmer in 2004.
Oh, 2004. Yeah, it might have been Kelly Hawkins.
Yeah,
it might have been. Yeah, it might have been. I'm just thinking. The first thing I'm thinking of, because we had a lot of those games where they were high scoring. I'm thinking of that game when Braylon Edwards, when the one game that Braylon Edwards went off. It was in Cincinnati. It was Derek Anderson versus Carson Palmer, and they had it was 07. That game was insane, and that was a fun game where it was just nothing but offense. There was no defense in that game.
51-45, but there was a higher scoring game back in 2004 or something like that.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. That might have been Kelly Hawkins. That might have been Jeff Garcia actually.
I don't know. It definitely was not Jeff Garcia. I'd remember them talking about that. But let's see. I
remember Jeff Garcia.
2000s, in the 2000s, the Browns won 51-45 in 2007, and the Bengals won 58-48 in 2004.
Not bad at all. I didn't think Jeff Garcia was horrible when I was a kid.
Yeah, no, I never. I always thought that Jeff Garcia was all right.
Yeah, I just remember that team. I remember being like 10 years old when 10 years old when they had Jeff Garcia, and just thinking to myself, why would we play with a quarterback when our team sucks?
All right, so Thomas, you want a couple throwback names here?
Go ahead, I'm listening.
So for that 58-48 Bengals victory over the Browns, which I believe is still the highest scoring game in NFL history, it was Kelly Holcomb and Carson Palmer. Kelly Holcomb threw for 413 yards.
Wow.
And the Browns lost. So reminiscent of that Steelers games you were talking about. Carson Palmer actually only threw for 251 yards. The difference is Rudy Johnson ran Thomas for 202 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's about right. You got a lot of those like big rushing games back in. You don't see that in the NFL as much anymore. Unless your name's Derrick Henry.
Yeah. And you know, Rudy Johnson was something else, which is funny because Rudy Johnson actually compared to the guy he replaced was nothing. Because Corey Dillon should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm telling you that right now. Like some of the things he did, like, you know, that game he had against the Denver Broncos where he got like 296 rushing yards in one game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Browns' top 2 leading receivers in that game were Antonio Bryant. I don't know if you remember that the Bengals signed Antonio Bryant at one point, and
I didn't know that.
Never played. Yeah, like it was like you know this whole situation we're dealing with Trey Waynes right now.
Yeah,
that was basically Antonio Bryant in Cincinnati.
That's great.
It was awful. And then Dennis Northcutt. I remember Dennis Northcutt.
He wasn't horrible. He was just bad.
Yeah. And then with the Bengals, it's the typical, you know, Chad Johnson, TJ Hushmanzada, Kelly Washington, you know, that whole group of people.
Yeah, you know, see, that was a good
Kenny Watson too, huh?
The Browns didn't have defense though. Who was the coach? What was his name? Romeo Cornell? Romeo Cornell?
I think that was Romeo.
Or that Butch Davis.
I think it was Romeo Cornell. 2004. Let's see, Cleveland. Let's see. Oh no, yeah, okay. Romeo Cornell was 2005, so I guess.
Yeah, Butch Davis.
Did Butch Davis come? Yeah, I guess that was. So who's Terry Robisky?
I want to draw on a blank.
Looks like he was the interim head coach.
I was about to say the interim coach because
did Butch Davis get fired?
Yeah, he quit. No, he quit.
Oh, he quit. Okay.
Yeah, he quit. I'm pretty sure he quit. I remember everybody. That was when like everybody started. That's when like the Browns, when people started to realize, holy crap, the Browns aren't just bad; they're bad. And I think people were coming to the facts of that after 5 years, and they're just like, dang, like we really do suck. Like we really do like freaking suck. Like we wasn't always this bad, but this is.
Wow,
this is the whole.
Rob Chudzinski was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, they said that he didn't get a fair shake when he was the coach for the Browns.
Huh.
When he was the head coach, they only gave him a season. He didn't get a fair shake of it. I was pretty mad about that.
Oh wow, Thomas, that game, that 58-48 game in Cincinnati appears to be the game that made Butch Davis quit. Because he resigned on November 30th, and that game happened on November 28th.
Well, the more you know.
So you're welcome.
Well, that little bit of history fact is brought to you by 2 historians whose degrees have nothing to do with football, but we still love football history.
And Wikipedia.
Yeah, Wikipedia.
Okay, so let's get back on topic, Thomas. That was a fun little tangent. I'm sure people will enjoy those fun facts, but we're already at 45 minutes now, so we should probably go ahead and move on.
Again, it's fantasy.
Yeah, let's talk about the fantasy teams. So, looks like my game and your game is now finished, Thomas. So, would you like to know who won that game?
You did.
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah.
Actually, technically, you still got a couple people playing. So like you got Stephon Diggs and the Patriots defense. The Stephon Diggs has not been having a good game. The Patriots defense hasn't been doing great, but they also haven't been doing terrible. But I mean, you're down by about 25 points. So I mean, unless Stephon Diggs like goes absolutely nuts in the fourth quarter, then it's probably over.
I kind of need him too because in my other fantasy league, I have Stephon Diggs too, but I'm playing against Josh Allen in my other fantasy league, so I need like I need Josh Allen to throw like a pick and Stephon Diggs to like run for a touchdown or two. What's going on in that game right now, anyway?
I don't know. I've got it up, but the Patriots are winning 11-10.
That's about right. The weather sucks.
Yeah, I suppose. So you got Jordan Heiser. Looks like he beat Brad McGee. In fact, Brad McGee has topped out at 78 points on the day. So, dude, he man, I think Brad might have like stopped paying attention because like he was like at the beginning of the year he was like winning a lot of the games. Like he was like in like the top seed and everything like that for the first couple of weeks, and now he's like the worst team in the league. So I think Brad might have just stopped paying attention. So hey,
what happened, Brad?
Where are you, Brad?
Yeah, where are you, Brad? Where Brad at? Brad's probably with Trad.
Ian
talking
Plank,
about Tad.
Ian Plank looks like he's going to lose to the bot, and both of those teams scored around 50 points. 50.
50? Dang, man.
God damn, man.
That's horrible. That's like 3 players right there.
All 3 of the 8 and 4 teams look like all 3 of us are going to win, which is fine with me because would I like the number 1 seed just for like pride's sake? Sure, but I just want a playoff bye. I mean, if it's the number 2 seed, it's fine with me too.
You want that playoff bye so you rest your players?
Well, I just don't want. I just want to minimize the chances to get eliminated. Yeah, no, I'm trying to rest my fantasy players, Thomas. That's what's going on.
You gotta make sure they're nice. They're in shape.
Well, I mean, look, dude. I'll tell you who. Like my fantasy team. I don't even know who's on my fantasy team at the moment. I got Kirk Cousins. Like you think Kirk Cousins doesn't need a rest?
Yeah, man. I think he just needs a break from this long fantasy season.
Wow, I benched Kyler Murray and he had like 30 points, and I still whooped your ass.
Shut up. Shut up.
Joe Mixon might need a rest week, but I don't think it really quite works that way.
Just looking at. Well, I mean, at least I'm still very well alive in my other fantasy league. I won 4 in a row. I was 4 and 5 in my other fantasy league. Now I'm 7 and 5. So I can still win $1,000. I can still win $1,000.
But Thomas, do you want $1,000 or do you want the pride of knowing that you are the best fantasy player in the Battle of Ohio podcast league? Choose your answer carefully.
Fuck pride. I want $1,000. I want to be rich. That's not rich. Okay, that money be gone in a week. But still, give me my $1,000. I want $1,000. I probably would.
What's the cost of living like in Cleveland? God damn.
It's not that much. I'm just exaggerating. The cost of living isn't bad in Cleveland.
I mean, I wouldn't think so. In Ohio,
now with inflation,
cost of living in the country. Well, I mean, that's just
yeah. It was more or less an overall joke about inflation than just like Cleveland. Like, oh, my money's gone.
Invest in Bitcoin.
Yeah, take investment advice from 2 people running a podcast.
This is not investment advice. I am not a financial advisor. Invest in Bitcoin. Okay. So, the podcast fantasy league. Thomas, I believe this will eliminate you from playoff contention. So goodbye. Bye-bye.
I thought I was eliminated for playoff contention last week.
Oh, you might have been. You might have been. I'm not doing the math right this second, but I mean, you very well could have been. So okay, so here you got when did the playoffs start? Week 15. So we're currently going into week 14, right? So that leaves one game left. So yeah, you're eliminated from playoff contention. Brad's eliminated from playoff contention. That's probably why he didn't even bother showing up this week, because he's eliminated.
Yeah.
Looks like let's see, all about that Bosa won. So good for him. Jaron Romero off in church also won. So good for him. And then Debbie Morgan lost. So Debbie Morgan is going to join y'all as I think Debbie Morgan might have forgotten to keep paying attention too, because if you recall, Debbie was at the top of the seeding too. I was competing for her early on.
Yeah, join us, Debbie.
Yeah, she's probably busy with Peak. She works at FedEx too, so trust me when I say that this season is fucking nuts.
I believe it.
Let's see. You got
you say as your peak performance.
DJ McNutt lost, and I think DJ McNutt might be eliminated from playoff contention. Might be. I'm not 100% sure. There might be some tiebreakers in, but I mean he's got pretty low points for going on here. So yeah, I think DJ McNutt is going to be eliminated from playoff contention. And let's see, Nick Boley also lost. So I think Nick Boley is going to be eliminated from playoff contention too. So sorry, boss. Sorry, boss. Points for. Okay, so I'm currently 9 points behind Jordan Heiser in points for, and looks like I'm going to score more points than him this week. So I'm gonna slowly creep up on that tiebreaker. And if I can make up that difference in points for, I can take over the number 1 seed.
Okay.
Not that it matters. Like I said, I just want the playoff bye. I really don't care. There's no home field advantage. Okay. But all right, we've probably been rambling enough about fantasy. So let's go ahead and move on to the underrated players of the week. So Thomas, I wanted to point out earlier, while you were getting kind of into you were starting to get on your roll about talking about the Browns and what was going on with their bye week and stuff like that. I had a little mini I don't want to call it a panic attack because it ain't that damn serious, but I had a little bit of a little tiny mini freak out, oh shit, I didn't do any research on who I was going to choose for the Browns underrated player of the week. I'm going to have to go into this completely blind and just make up shit on the spot. And then I'm like, oh wait, bye week. So this should be a pretty short segment. So who you got for the Bengals?
For the Bengals, I'm actually gonna go with Samaje Perine. And the reason why I'm going with Samaje Perine. Oh, sorry.
I said why.
Well, he averaged 7.2 yards per carry. He had 5 carries, and I know Joe Mixon is the primary running back for this team. But I talked about in the last episode how versatile it would be if the Bengals had a Kareem Hunt-ish level running back to go along with their Nick Chubb, their Joe Mixon, and he was like, "No, they have that." And then you're right. They do have a plethora of riches at running back, but it's nice when you have a team that struggled trying to get back in the game. When you're trying to make a comeback, you need everything that you can get to come back. Samaje Perine averaging 7.2 yards per carry. I think that was big. He only had 5 carries. That's why he's underrated. Is because it's just nice to know that he still can have that spark behind Joe Mixon. It's nice to know that you had an extra weapon because you want to know that in the future. And him and those rushes, he only had 5 rushes. They may look small now, but I think in the future that's a good stepping stone to build on. I just think that he proved that he's a very solid number 2 running back for the Bengals.
That's fair. So I talked about this in Samaje Perine. I talked about Samaje Perine in my position grades article that I did on
Also had 2 receptions.
ATBnetwork.com. And it's like, yeah, he did average 7.2 yards per carry, which is nice, but he also only had like 5 carries, so like sample size,
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
and then the other thing is like he got a couple catches and he barely did anything with those catches.
Yeah,
so I mean, like the thought process is like, I don't know. Samaje Perine did, I guess, fine and in the couple opportunities he had, but I feel like if he had more opportunities, he probably would not have been that consistent.
I mean, who was going to pick? Your defense gave up 40 points. Your offense.
No, they didn't. No, they did not give up 40 points. The offense gave up like 14 of those points, which is my point. Like the defense really only was responsible for about 24 points. And honestly, Thomas, if you sit there and you tell me before this game the defense is only going to give up 24 points, then I'm going to be like, boom, Bengals won, didn't they? And you'll be like, no, the Chargers actually scored 41. I'm like, what the fuck?
I mean, there's one other player that I could have easily went with, but I just don't really consider him underrated. So,
okay, well, I'm not sure who you're going with, but the guy I picked for underrated player of the week is definitely hella underrated and is definitely a defensive player because the defense this week was hella underrated because people like you are seeing like, oh, they let him score 41 points, and it's like, no, the defense did not give up 41 points. The defense. The offense is the reason they lost this game because the offense kept turning the ball over in terrible spots. The special teams was awful, but the defense did about the best they could given the situation that they had. But I'm going to give the underrated player of the week to Joe Bachie, the third string linebacker. He was a practice squad call up this year. We picked him up off of waivers from I think the Jacksonville Jaguars. Might have been the Jaguars, but we picked him up off of waivers. And he ended up on our practice squad. Then we called him up from the practice squad when we had some injuries and stuff like that. And like the ideal situation with him is like the Bengals really liked him, just like from like a depth player perspective, not so much from like we think that he's gonna like be a starter or anything, but like like if you need somebody, then they really liked Joe Bachie for some reason. And I think Joe Bachie showed why the Bengals believed in him. Because what he did was like Logan Wilson, for some god-awful reason, was playing special teams. And he got hurt on a special teams play. And it kind of makes you want to like strangle Darren Simmons, the special teams coach. Like, why were you playing Logan Wilson on special teams? You idiot. But it happened. So Logan Wilson's hurt. And now you got to dive into the linebacker depth, which, if you ask most Bengals fans, will be like, that's the biggest liability on the team is if like, something happens to one of the starting linebackers, then you're screwed. But Joe Bachie held his own out there, man. He had he had 39 snaps on the day because Logan Wilson got hurt, and he was excellent on the whole day. I mean, like, it seemed like when he was on the field, he was always involved in one of the tackles. He was always in the backfield doing something, or not in the backfield doing something. He was cleaning up coverage mistakes and stuff like that. In general, Joe Bachie, he wasn't like an elite, like when Logan Wilson comes back, nobody's going to be like, we should be playing Joe Bachie instead. But he proved that the Bengals do have linebacker depth. And if need be, if Joe Bachie has to go in there and cover some snaps, then it's not going to be the end of the world. So for me, the underrated player of the week is Joe Bachie because, again, I feel like somebody on defense deserved it, not somebody on offense, because the offense was fucking stupid. And Joe Bachie's underrated.
Well, I think one other player that needs to get a shout out. And okay. I didn't say this because I wasn't thinking that he was underrated, and I thought maybe you would probably mention him. But we got to give a shout out to T. Higgins, though. T. Higgins did play well, and And
You know
I
what,
didn't say
that
that he's not underrated. That's the only reason why I didn't mention him, because I legitimately think that T. Higgins and JaMarr Chase should be a 1-2 punch, and they should be a threat in this league for a while. I think T. Higgins have that potential, but it's just good to see T. Higgins like have a big game.
I'm gonna give T. Higgins to you because, like, he's not truly underrated because, like, the NFL knows that T. Higgins is a good football player because, I mean,
Yeah.
he had a really good rookie season.
Yeah.
But T. Higgins has kind of disappeared a lot this year because, JaMarr
Yeah.
Chase was breaking out and
Yeah.
then, like, when teams started figuring out JaMarr Chase and T. Higgins like finally started getting passes thrown his way, he wasn't quite ready for it, and he was dropping passes and it wasn't looking good and stuff like that. So there were a lot of question marks surrounding T. Higgins, and because of that, I think that underrated, I think, is not necessarily a terrible way to describe T. Higgins. I mean, he's not like underrated in like Madden, but like the average football fan has probably mostly forgotten about T. Higgins at this point.
Okay.
So I like all of that is to basically just say I will accept T. Higgins as a potential underrated player, and I definitely think he's a better pick than Samaje Perine because I don't think Samaje Perine did very well.
Okay.
I mean, like he did okay on the touches that he had, but I mean he didn't do much in the first place.
I'll tell you what else didn't do well with that 33-yard field goal attempt by the Bills in that windy weather down in New England and down in Buffalo. It is windy in Buffalo.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the state of the AFC North. And,
yes. I've been waiting all day for this segment.
Real easy to cover this one because the Steelers and Ravens played each other. And
Kyle, I've been waiting for this.
Thomas, that was one of the most pathetic games I've ever seen between teams with winning records in a while. Like, I mean, I know some people are like, look, it's vintage Ben Roethlisberger making big throws, but it's like, what, you mean that one throw? Because other than that one throw, what vintage throws was he making? It was awful.
Kyle, I'm so happy. Like, you don't know how much I've been waiting to do this segment because I've been waiting. I've been thinking about this segment all day at work today because, like, I said, 3 weeks ago, I went on a rant. And I said that I think that and this is what I said earlier. I feel like all my theories are correct. My theory, I've never felt more confident in my theory that I made a couple weeks ago when I said the Ravens and the Steelers are going to collapse the second half of the season. And I said it, and I had a lot of evidence to why. Because for one, the Steelers have a lot of problems starting with Ben Roethlisberger and starting with that offense, and problems that they really can't fix here. None of the problems that the Steelers could do, none of the things the problems the Steelers have, they can fix. TJ Watt looks good. I'll give you that, Pittsburgh. TJ Watt looks elite.
He didn't look elite against us.
But at the same time, one of the reasons why he looked elite is because Lamar Jackson isn't that good. And when are we going to start having this conversation? And I am going to become ruthless on this. Kyle, I'm going to become ruthless on this because I just think it's ironic that every single young quarterback gets a pass but Lamar. Every single young quarterback is criticized but Lamar Jackson. If people Lamar Jackson fans go like, oh no, Lamar Jackson gets criticized. It's like, no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Lamar Jackson is the most under-criticized quarterback in the league right now. I just think so.
You're right. And here, I agree with you because people have gotten so defensive about Lamar Jackson that people assume, like, people like, oh yeah, Lamar Jackson gets criticized all the time, but he really doesn't. He doesn't. What happens is people like still have it in their heads that everybody on the planet's like Lamar Jackson's a running back because that's what people were saying when he got drafted in his first year.
He is a running back.
And then like when he loses in the playoffs, people are like, hey, I don't know about Lamar Jackson. But I mean, for the most part, every time you hear like anybody in the national media talk about Lamar Jackson, it's about how he's an MVP caliber quarterback and how he just makes these amazing plays. And every time he does like something stupid, they just ignore it.
Exactly. You know what? Okay. Here's one. He had 17 touchdowns to 16 turnovers on the season. 17 touchdowns, 16 turnovers. He had 8 interceptions in the last 4 games. In the last 4 games he played, he had 8 interceptions. These are very problematic stats. These are very indicative. That's why I said against the Browns, like, this is not a fluke. This is what's happening. What you're seeing against the Browns is not a fluke. What's happening is teams are starting to figure out Lamar Jackson. Congratulations, he's fast. Congratulations. Oh, these tricks. Oh, Lamar Jackson do these tricks. Oh, side-out throw. Oh my God, Lamar Jackson. Then they just ignore him when he throws a freaking 50-yard medicine ball down the yard and it gets intercepted. Like, nah, he'd be fine. Look at all the confidence he had. I remember last game when Lamar had 4 interceptions. They were like, well, the thing is, the reason why you can't criticize Lamar Jackson is because Lamar Jackson, he might have 4 interceptions, but he's throwing the ball with confidence. Oh, look at that interception.
Right.
I don't get where you're going with this. He had to look good. And who's going to say it? I'm going to say it. Well, you're going to say it, Cal.
Yeah, right. But at the same time, I will admit that he regularly flashes how talented he is. At no point. Well, right. At no point am I going to argue that he doesn't have the potential to be great. But the problem with him is the problem that, y'all criticized my quarterback for years for, which was that, he's inconsistent and he makes a lot of dumb mistakes, even though he can make some good plays too. Now, granted, Lamar Jackson's like way more talented than Andy Dalton ever was, but it's not the point. The point is that, it's the same thing they criticize your quarterback for, Thomas. It's like, yeah, he can be great, but the inconsistencies and when he plays bad, it's bad. It's like, well, it's the same shit with Lamar Jackson.
Oh,
the difference is the Ravens are the Ravens for the last few years have had a much better team around Lamar Jackson than the Bengals ever had around
good coach,
or the Browns have really had around Baker Mayfield.
Good coach. Here's the other thing about it. That I think a lot of people are missing. Lamar Jackson have gotten worse every single week season since his MVP season. Last year he was worse than the MVP season, and this year he's worse than last year. He's slumping. He's on a downward going arrow, and it's going to continue to be like that. You suck, Lamar.
What I really appreciated about this game though is I told you, I was rooting for the Ravens because, just to be honest, fuck the Steelers. But at the same time, when the Bengals lost to the Chargers, I kind of had to begrudgingly be like, okay, fine, I guess we need the Steelers to beat the Ravens, and then they did it. And I don't know if you saw my tweet, Thomas, but I was just like, I basically said the same thing. I was like, God, fine, yay, go Steelers. I might throw up in my mouth a little bit, but whatever. But at the end of the day, man, this AFC North is so competitive. It's so weird. How are all of these teams still I know the Steelers are bad, but they're still hanging in there. And the Steelers are probably the worst team in the AFC North. Every single other team is a pretty good team. How is this division constantly so concentrated with competitiveness? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think that the Bengals and the Browns have more talent than the Ravens and the Steelers, and the Ravens just have a better culture and better better foundation.
I think the Ravens have more talent at. Okay, so for the skill positions, not at each individual place, but on the whole with the skill positions, I think a healthy Ravens team is far more talented than a healthy Browns team.
When they're healthy.
Not the Bengals, but we didn't know that going into the year. It was a bunch of young guys and it was a bunch of question marks and stuff like that. We didn't know exactly what we were getting with the Bengals. But with the Ravens, it's you know how talented they are, and if they can put it together, then they're going to be scary. The problem with the Ravens is as good as their culture is supposedly, they don't put it together when they need to put it together. They quite often just do not do that. Like they did that. They did that in 2012, and really since then it's been a lot of like despite how talented they are, there's been a lot of just like disappointing results because they can't put it all together at the same time.
I just don't. I might be real with you, Kyle. This is a hot take. I don't think the Ravens are gonna win another game this season.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Okay, they play the Browns next, right?
Yeah.
I think they're not gonna beat us back to back. After they play the Browns, they play the Packers. Did I beat the Packers? After they play the Packers, they play the Bengals and Cincinnati. Okay. They ain't beat the Bengals. After they play the Bengals, they play the Rams. They're not beating the Rams.
No, they'll beat the Rams. They'll beat the Rams.
You think they beat the Rams? You think
the Rams? I think the Rams are sloppy. I think the Rams have the same problem the Ravens have.
Who do you think can get their stuff together quicker, the Rams or the Bengals? The thing is, the reason why I think the Ravens are going to slump is because I think Lamar Jackson's going to slump. Because I know I'm right about this.
Steelers in Week 18, right?
Yeah,
I guarantee you the Steelers do not sweep the Ravens. I agree with you. I could see the Ravens losing their next 3 games. But I don't think that they'll lose their final 2 games. Though I think they're going to go 2-3. 2-3 the rest of the year. I think they're going to lose their next 3 and then win their last 2.
I'm going to meet you in the middle. I'm going to go 4. I'm going to go 4 out of the last 5. They'll lose 4 out of the last 5. Well, and I'm confident.
The Rams. I'm not so confident that the Rams would definitely lose that game. That I'm going to argue with you on that one. So I mean maybe 4. Maybe
we're going to see because if they get that ball rolling and they go into that Rams game after losing 3 in a row, boy, all I'm saying is I don't believe in Lamar. I don't. And
I don't know. Here's the one thing about talking about all these games that they could lose and stuff like that. The one thing that I really do believe in Lamar to do is do some crazy ass weird heroics at the end of the game, and that could be the difference in some of these games.
I think his magic ran out. I just don't think that it's sustainable. Some of the stuff that he does. It's
not long term sustainable, but I think it can get him a win.
Yeah.
I think it can get him a few wins, to be honest with you, but then they'll probably lose in the playoffs.
But all the teams that he's going against for the next month are playoff caliber teams and playoff caliber defenses.
Well, yeah, but I'm not saying they can't beat playoff teams. I'm saying they will lose in the playoffs, like whether it be in the first round or the second round. It will happen.
Because he's not going to be Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to be Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to be his back-to-back. He's not going to be Jaw at home. And then when it comes to that round, I just think if they go in that game losing 3 in a row, forget about it. I just think the Rams are just going to come in, they just going to do what they need to do, and then just pounce on them. I think that we about to get real ugly for Lamar, and I say that with a lot of confidence. And I don't care. I don't care what Dante have to say. I don't care what the national media have to say. I don't care what anybody on Twitter have to say. I know what I'm saying. This guy doesn't look good, Kyle. This guy does not look good at quarterback. If you take out everything, you knew about Lamar and just watch these 4 games critically, his last 4 games critically, and tell me that that's a good quarterback. You're just not going to convince me. 8 turnovers, 8 picks in 4 games. He does not look good. The offense for the Ravens is not good. It's not existent. And now they lost their cornerback. Yeah. Who are the quarterbacks they got to play? Rodgers, Burrow, Mayfield, Stafford.
You said Mayfield so quietly.
Because I don't know what to expect from him. I'm going to be real with you. I just don't know what to expect. I just don't know what to expect.
But do you know what to expect from Stafford?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think Baker Mayfield.
I know what to expect from Cooper Kupp. I know that the Ravens won't be able to guard Cooper Kupp. So that's all. That's all I need to know.
Maybe they can't guard Jarvis Landry.
Maybe they can't guard Odell Beckham.
Well, but they did. They have though.
Yeah, they have.
They have. Like,
Yeah.
Odell Beckham did not have his best games against Baltimore.
He had one touchdown one game.
That's nice. Okay, but anyway, guys, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Battle of Ohio podcast. Thank you so much for listening. You can always find more of what I do at Kyle Phelps92 on Twitter, Facebook.com/ThePhelps, ATBNetwork.com/Cincinnati Bengals with a little hyphen in there in the middle. And then go check out my YouTube channel, which is just Kyle Phelps. I'm putting out Bengals content about 4 or 5 times a week, 4 to 6 times a week, really, just kind of depending on how the week goes. And depending on the content that I can do. So I go to the Bengals games, but I live stream the away games. Like I go to the home games and I live stream the away games. I've been trying to find a way to make some content about going to the home games, but last time I did that, I deleted Denzel Ward's pick 6, which would have, made me very sad, but it would have been, a good video to put on YouTube. So and then it made Thomas very sad, which was almost funny. So, but anyway, you can find more of what Thomas does at T_star94 on Twitter and on Instagram. And then you can check him out as the Thomas J Network, which is on TikTok and YouTube. And that's where you really want to follow him because, he's building a following there on TikTok. And what are you up to now, Thomas? Like followers on TikTok?
4,700 and something. I'm with you. It's growing. It's actually pretty humbling.
There you go. And like I said, definitely check out his YouTube because he's posting songs on there from time to time. He's posting. I haven't seen him do it in a while, but I know you do those roller coaster videos. I haven't seen a Black Baker Mayfield from you in a while, but
one of those might be coming soon. Probably should have done it during the bye.
Probably
4,737, by the way.
Oh, there you go. So be part of the fastest growing Cleveland Browns TikTok fan page where you also get a guy rapping about the Cleveland Indians, but not the Indians, the Guardians.
The Ends.
The Ends. The Guards. The new team. The Cleveland baseball team.
What do you want to call them?
I don't know. But anyway, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll leave y'all with a hoo day.
Go Browns.